Right, so today's episode is going to have a little bit of a medical mystery vibe. And it's really that how does someone who is young, fit, and performing on world tours suddenly end up with a stroke? So if you can remember just one thing from this episode, it's that strokes are not just an old age problem. They can really hit young people, even world tour selling musicians, and recognizing them quickly can literally save a life.
Welcome to Medicine Made Simple, your source for daily, simple, 5-minute explanations of the latest medical news.
All right, so like I said, today's episode is a little personal, a little bit of a medical mystery vibe, but so I'm really a huge Childish Gambino fan of Donald Glover as well. Both his old YouTube stuff and even when he was a writer on 30 Rock, which is an amazing TV show if you haven't watched it, with Tina Fey and Alec Baldwin. So I had tickets to his concert last year in Austin, where I live. And, when it got canceled, I got that StubHub email saying event canceled. And, it was pretty generic. Back then, it just said, due to some health issues. And I posted about it on Twitter, kind of like, hey, like if you need anything, let me know. Of course, he did not let me know. But, so about a year later, a little over a year later, so about last week, Donald Glover did share publicly, as you could see in this headline here, he shared publicly that he had a stroke and that later doctors found a hole in his heart. So as a physician, that immediately made me think, PFO, patent form and ovale. So today I was just going to really talk a little bit about both of these things, right? Strokes in young people and also what a PFO is. So why I think it's really important is that when, celebrities have, illnesses or surgeries or injuries, it really makes headlines, and it actually has more effect, I think, than just any other person getting this, getting this diagnosis or having this problem, because the reach is pretty big. So I think at those times it's good to kind of share kind of the warning signs or something to look out for. So, yes, that's my first takeaway, that stroke isn't just an old age thing. Normally when we talk about stroke, we're thinking about hypertension, diabetes, smoking, heart murmurs or arrhythmias. So like any of those traditional risk factors. But for Donald Glover, which I assume, again, I don't know his diagnosis, but it sounds like it was an anatomical, not a lifestyle related issue. So what a PFO is that when you're a baby, you're born with the flap between the right and left atria, which are the upper parts, the upper chambers of the heart, and it's normal when you're like a fetus, right? So the blood just goes directly through. So when you're born, it's supposed to close, except in about actually a pretty surprisingly high amount, about 15 to 25% of adults, it stays open, and usually it doesn't cause a problem. But I was also surprised when I read that number. I was like, really? It's like 1 in 4? But yeah, so it's like 15 to 25% of adults, they just have this and never cause a problem. But what can happen in here is that if you have a clot, it can travel through that little opening. It'll go straight to the brain and cause a stroke. So generally, when you get a younger patient with no risk factors and they have a sudden stroke, doctors will look for a PFO. So that's kind of why it struck me in this situation, because like I said, I don't know his exact medical records or anything, but when he said that he had a stroke and then doctors found a hole in his heart, that sounds pretty perfect for a PFO. And that's great because you can fix the PFO and it'll reduce the risk of another stroke. It's not a very invasive surgery, so that's really great for him. And again, like another good thing to share with others, right? So, but what do you really understand about strokes? I think the best acronym is FAST, FAST. So face, you'll see like the face drooping. A, they'll have arm or leg weakness. S is like speech difficulty. So they, I think in TV shows like House or something, people will start, speaking gibberish. Or I think there was a How I Met Your Mother episode where the helicopter pilot had a stroke and started speaking nonsense. But he didn't realize it, right? He's just talking normally. And so anyways, there's stuff like that. So that's FAS, and then the T is time. So you want to call 911 or, get help immediately. And it's really, if you can notice these symptoms in yourself. I think there was an episode of House where a pregnant woman has a stroke, and she notices she starts doing the fast. She's like face drooping, arm weakness and speech difficulty, and then she diagnoses herself as a stroke before she passes out. So yeah, stroke treatment is always a race against time, the T and fast. So yeah, it's really important if you're able to, get to the hospital, get to someone as quick as possible. So yeah, I think those are the major points I wanted to make. I think as a fan, of course, I was sad to miss the concert. I was going with my son, who was 8 at the time, and is a surprisingly big Childish Gambino fan. Obviously, I had a lot to do with that, but he knows a lot of his music. We usually listen to the clean version, but we were gonna make it a nice night out, and it didn't happen. Maybe in the future we could catch another concert of his or see him. But I think I just wanted to kind of acknowledge and thank him also for sharing his story, because I think, when famous people share their stories like this and they get anything, even like the FAST acronym, that might help a few people in the future, because they could even remember just a little bit fast, face drooping, arm, this speech difficulty, time, they could, even if they remember a little bit of that, they might, get checked or have something treatable. Even you might have like a mini stroke or something. So, just being able to catch these things early and in the act, help others as well. So, I do selfishly hope I can take my son to see him in concert sometime. But I'm really happy that he's doing better, and glad to see that. He's shared his story, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people.